I am not a financial advisor, and I never give financial advice on this channel. 100% of this content is for entertainment purposes only.
Ah, fuck all this! Ludicrous speed! Go!
Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well. It's Lane here with MetaShackle. Today I'm going to be going over the Velo and the Solana charts as requested by viewers. From this point moving forward, I'm going to post a poll in the post tab with 4 cryptos listed, and I'm going to allow the audience to vote on them to decide what the next cryptos are that get covered in the next video. So keep that in mind and remember to cast your vote. So let's get into the charts. First, taking a look at the Velo charts, we're going to see something different in this chart that we haven't seen in any of the other charts that I've covered, with the exception of the total crypto market cap chart. Instead of the 5-wave pattern that we're seeing throughout the ISO 222 tokens, Velo is exhibiting a 3-wave pattern at this point. We have the first wave coming up here to the top of the trend line, and we are now at the bottom of the second wave, waiting to transition into the third leg. So likely, as the false breakout comes, this third leg will match the 5th leg on the other charts. It's trading towards the bottom of the range, which is great. It touched the top end here on the fib levels. This liquidation candle here on February 3rd bounced right off of the lower trend line. We did the same thing again, so it's very likely that this trend line will hold until we see the flash crash in April, where I think we will most likely break down through this. But looking at the charts right here, we are trading below the Gaussian channel. It's about level from the top point to the center of the channel. We've actually got a little bit more on this downside, and it looks like to me it's going to be very likely that we are at least going to come down to this trend line again, taking out this previous low. And this low here actually swept all the liquidity for this pattern going back into this area. So there's not a ton of liquidity left unless it goes down much deeper. But once it catches, whether it's here at the trend line or down here at the -5, we will get the false breakout trading towards equilibrium. It'll likely at the most trade up somewhere to these red lines before the flash crash comes and it falls back. We have 2-week dojis right here in this area. These would be my candidates going all the way back to this part on the chart. If we do see this flash crash in mid to late April, these would be likely candidates right here for the levels to watch for that flash crash bottom, because in doing so, it will sweep this entire pattern right here going all the way back through March, taking out virtually all the liquidity from this entire move, which is an entire year's worth of liquidity. So by looking at this chart, you can definitely see that it's getting towards the bottom, even though I don't think it has grounded out. But the other important thing to look at is after the flash crash in April, the farther we move towards summer, the broader this broadening wedge gets, which means that it is opening up this chart to much higher prices moving in this direction. So when we get the breakout right here heading into May, June, July, and August, maybe longer, there's a pretty good chance that chasing up to the top of this upper trend line, we will take out this high right here. So overall, the Velo chart looks very good at this point. But keep in mind, to drop down to these weak dojis right here is cutting the price in half at current levels. But it's not guaranteed to last that long, but I don't exactly know how long it is. And just for reference, this is the regular chart. This is not the logarithmic chart. Some people give me a hard time about that in the comments, but when you're using my grafting equilibrium trading strategy, you do not want to use logarithmic charts when you're looking at short-term intervals, because in doing so, it distorts the fib levels and actually makes them less accurate. But if you're looking on long-term perspectives, you want to set it up on the regular charts. Then once you have the levels established, you want to flip over to logarithmic, just to make that clear. So switching over to Solana, I had to do something a little bit different on this chart. What you're looking at here is the daily chart, and I've established all of the levels with the equilibrium zone as well as the Fibonacci's and the trend lines set up on the daily. But since so much time has passed within this pattern, it's very hard to decipher where we're at. So I'm setting everything up on the daily, and then I am switching to the weekly chart so that we can see it better. Now, this is a technique that I often use, which gives you a little bit more accuracy. Rather than setting up the equilibrium zone on the weekly chart, use the daily chart. Once it's set up, switch over to the weekly. Now, taking a look at the Solana chart, we're exhibiting the same 5-wave pattern that we're seeing in the majority of the ISO 222 tokens. We have traded down to the -2 right here. This candle right here, which liquidated everything previous to here on August 5th, we have almost traded to that point, but not quite. So there's a good chance that this price action is eventually going to trade down to this lower trend line, perhaps even going just a hair lower. It might attempt to take out this candle right here to sweep additional liquidity stacked right here at this bull flag. But just like in Velo, this broadening wedge pattern is gaining space. So once the false breakout occurs, likely trading to that same zone as Velo, and the price crashes through, whatever this low is here, this low will likely take that low out. But it is creating a lot of space on the upside, which makes it even more likely that when the real breakout occurs, that we will see the price challenge or take out this high right here, pushing up towards this upper trend line, which at that point in time, moving into May, could actually be further out here on the chart. So the more time that goes, short of a black swan event, of course, it's going to give it more ability to gain a higher price moving up to this range. But overall, I do believe that we are going to see a drop to at least this lower trend line, which could take us down to about that $90, $95 level, probably bouncing off of the -3.5 line right here on my fib levels. So that might sound kind of bearish to you looking at this chart, especially with as much as this has dropped. Because since hitting this peak right here, coming down to this low, the price has actually decreased by 62%, which, as bearish as that is, can actually be bullish in some ways. And this is also on the regular chart, not the logarithmic chart, because it's a short-term chart. Now, I'm going to take you to a longer-term Solana chart, and I'm going to show you the good news. Now, what you're looking at right here is the Solana weekly chart. And as you can clearly see, we are forming a massive cup. Massive cup. This pattern is going all the way back to this point right here, which is in November of 2021. Now, this is on the regular chart. You use the regular chart to establish your equilibrium zones, but these are basically just to show you what's going on here. But I wanted you to notice something. Now we're going to switch to the logarithmic because this is long term. Now look where that +6 line ended up, nearly right at the rim line on this. But that's not the important part. We're actually going to get rid of that. Now this is where the logarithmic chart comes into play. Take a look at this cup. This cup is absolutely massive. This pattern has been forming for over 3 years. Even though the price has fallen down since hitting this peak right here, which happened after the Trump pump initial breakout, coming up to the rim line, getting rejected, coming back down, coming back up, punching through the rim line. We have since dropped off that 62% I was talking about. We have formed a weak doji here on the weekly chart, which is a good sign, but I still think if you look right here at this Gaussian channel and you compare it to this one right here, you can see how much potential there is to pass through this channel if it doesn't reverse and move back up. But nonetheless, this is forming a wedge pattern. But if you look at it overall, this is the 1, 2, 3, third wave of this pattern, which likely means that when that flash crash comes, we could see this thing dip down here quite a bit, which would give us that space that we need to create that lower trend line for this wedge pattern, which would look something like this. Can you see how bullish this is? It's not an ascending wedge pattern that would be bearish. It's not quite as bullish as a descending wedge, but that is a beautiful, beautiful picture with the cup inside of it and the potential wedge coming down, which will likely be somewhere in this area right here. But looking at this, it gives us an idea of where we could go because we have 2 points on the chart right here to use as reference, which means that we will likely not go down as low as indicated on the previous chart. But take a look at this cup right here. That is some serious potential, because if we form the handle somewhere in this range, we have a massive cup and handle pattern that has taken over 3 years to form. Cup and handle patterns are generally incredibly powerful patterns with a high success rate. These can make incredible moves breaking out on the hourly, the 4-hour, the daily. But this is the weekly chart. With a pattern like this that is formed over the course of more than 3 years, the potential for this thing to move to numbers that you wouldn't even consider is incredible. The rim line is sitting right here around that 270 level, let's say. If you break out of this level, come up and retest this and have a breakout, you could see this 270 double and then double again. It would not surprise me one bit by just looking at this chart if we saw 4-digit Solana after this breakout occurs, because generally these breakouts are measured from the lower body of the lower candle up to the rim line, and that is the height of the estimated move, which would take you up in the range of about $3,500 to $4,000 just looking at the chart. But I like to play conservative. But if this does break out, you are going to most likely go to 4 digits, because that's pretty low on the charts. So even with things the way they are, with price getting its butt kicked, even if Solana comes down here to the bottom of this range, hitting something like $70, $80, whatever it is, eventually we will see this set, this lower handle trend line, whether it's here, whether that's the bottom, the flash crash in April doesn't happen, whether it does happen, whatever happens, we will see this give us the second point we need at some point to be able to put this trend line on here, whether it's soon or whether it's in a few months, whether it's in 6 months. This will become clearer as time goes by. But this is something to consider. No matter what happens to the price, in the short term, no matter how volatile, how erratic things get, how scary, how terrifying, do not forget this picture of what you're seeing. Go to Google and Google cup and handle pattern breakout. Look at those pictures and tell me how much potential this has. In fact, I don't need to tell you, because just looking at those pictures, you will understand exactly what you're looking at right here, right now. This is a beautiful, beautiful pattern. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do me a favor and hit the like button, as it doesn't cost you anything and it helps the channel, and I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone's support. You have no idea how much it means to me, and I'll be putting a poll up on the channel soon so that you can choose another pair of cryptos for me to cover on a future video. But in the next video I do, I will be covering Theta all by itself, because that video is going to take the full 15 minutes. So thank you for watching. Have a great day.
Just stop this thing! I order you! Stop!
Here, sir. Here, let me help you, sir.
Smoke if you got 'em.